and thanks for joining me. This channel focuses on politics, power, and global events. Not just what happens, but why it happens and what it really means. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you one simple favor. If you find value in thoughtful analysis, if you appreciate conversations that go beyond headlines, please help the channel grow. Like the video, share it, and subscribe. It makes a real difference, and it allows this kind of work to continue. Now let's get into it. Yesterday, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, President Donald Trump addressed the world's political and economic elite. It was not a routine speech. It was wide-ranging, sometimes forceful, sometimes unclear, and in moments, deeply revealing. Because when the President of the United States speaks on a global stage, like Davos, he is not just speaking to American voters. He is speaking to allies, to markets, to rivals, and to history. What we're going to do here is look at what was said, what may have been intended, and what this speech signals about America's place in a changing world. At its core, the speech carried a familiar message. America is strong, America is open for business, and America will put itself first. The president spoke confidently about the US economy, about investment, and about his belief that American leadership remains central to global stability. To many business leaders in the room, that message landed clearly. This was a signal. If you're looking for growth, security, and returns, America, in his view, is still the center of gravity. That portion of the speech was deliberate, consistent, and aligned with his long-held worldview. But as the speech continued, the structure loosened. Topics began to blur. Greenland, Europe, World War II, energy policy, leadership style. At several points, the president appeared to conflate facts, including moments where Greenland and Iceland were treated interchangeably. That matters because when a US president makes statements that are factually incorrect, the impact goes far beyond embarrassment. It affects credibility. And when aides later deny remarks that were made multiple times on camera, a deeper question emerges. Are we correcting errors or redefining reality? For global audiences, that distinction is critical. One of the most striking moments came when the president addressed criticism directly. He said that people call him a dictator. Then he added that sometimes you have to be like a dictator to get things done. This was not a declaration of authoritarian rule. It was a description of how he views leadership: decisive, unconstrained, and impatient with process. But language matters, especially on a world stage where many countries live under actual dictatorships. What he may have meant as toughness, others heard as comfort with authoritarian logic. And in diplomacy, perception often outweighs intent. Then there is Greenland. This is not a new fixation. The president has returned to Greenland repeatedly, and at Davos, he did so again. The stated rationale is strategic: Arctic security, China, and Russia, shipping lanes, critical minerals. But there was an important clarification. The president stated that he would not take Greenland by force. He also stepped back from earlier suggestions that the United States would impose tariffs on Denmark to pressure negotiations. Those statements matter. They signal restraint after escalation. But the framing still matters. He does not speak about Greenland like a diplomat. He speaks about it like a business asset. Even without force or tariffs, the language suggests ownership, control, and long-term value. To allies, particularly Denmark, this does not sound like cooperation. It sounds like the commodification of sovereignty. At this point, two important questions have to be asked. First, was the fixation on Greenland also a way to change the narrative? At the time of this speech, other stories, including Epstein, were circulating and demanding attention. By pushing Greenland to the center of the conversation, media focus shifted away from documents, away from details, and towards spectacle. This does not require coordination, it requires instinct. Then there is the second question: was this negotiation by extremes a familiar Trump tactic? You start at the very top of what you want. You demand the maximum. You know you will not get it, but by anchoring the conversation there, you land closer to your real objective. In that context, buying Greenland was never the goal. Taking it by force was never the intention. Tariffs were leverage, not policy. The real outcome may have been expanded access, security cooperation, or quiet concessions, achieved while public debate focused elsewhere. And both things can be true at the same time. The president also turned to Europe. He suggested that Europe might not be there for America, despite America being there for Europe during World War II. He went further. He argued that Denmark was overrun in 6 hours during World War II and used that claim to question Denmark's ability to defend Greenland today. This is classic Trump framing: alliances as transactions, history as justification, military capability reduced to a single data point. But history does not work that way. World War II was a collective struggle with enormous sacrifices made across Europe long before the United States entered the war. Reducing that history to speed of defeat recasts alliances from partnership to liability, and it encourages other nations to quietly reassess how much they rely on the United States. There is one more dimension that cannot be ignored: the market. Throughout his career, the president has closely tracked market reactions to his words. Markets do not respond to speeches, they respond to risk. The Greenland rhetoric, combined with talk of force, tariffs, and alliance strain, introduced uncertainty. That uncertainty registered, and when clarification followed, markets stabilized. For a president deeply attuned to investor confidence, that reaction is feedback. It informs restraint, it informs tone, and it signals when escalation has gone far enough. So, how did this speech make America look? To supporters of strong leadership, confident. To investors, assertive. But to many allies, unpredictable. That perception was reinforced by moments that felt unusual for a global forum. At one point, the president claimed that NATO leaders used to call him daddy before tensions over Greenland. Whether meant humorously or rhetorically, language like that lands differently on a world stage. It blurs the line between authority and performance. This speech was not just about policy, it was about narrative, negotiation, markets, and power. America still holds enormous influence, but influence is strongest when clarity meets credibility. And the question the world is now asking is simple: is America leading the system or teaching others how to operate without it?